The episode of Bardock threw a lot of confusion into this particular conundrum. Hey guys, MasterCoX here. Now, one of the biggest icons in Dragon Ball is that of the Legendary Super Saiyan. Just the name itself carries a lot of weight in the Dragon Ball community and the mythos of Toriyama's world. What? Who? How? Why is the Legendary Super Saiyan a thing? People like to have answers, and an answer for one particular question. Who is the Legendary Super Saiyan? For most of the show's lifespan, we pretty much assume that it's either Goku or Broly. For years, fans tussled with each other about who deserves the mantle of Legendary and who doesn't. Who is the real deal here? Then, in 2011, we got the episode of Bardock. You know, that thing that was bundled with Dragon Ball Z for Connect, which was really bad. That then threw Bardock into the mix and made things even more complicated. And don't get me started about the original Super Saiyan that Vegeta talked about in the Namek saga. Now we've got 4 candidates. 4. The duty of this video is to put this whole thing to bed and to carry on with how many times I always talk about how Bardock messed things up. First off, the idea of a Legendary Super Saiyan, or even a Super Saiyan in general, was not part of Toriyama's original vision for Goku. In fact, Saiyans didn't even figure in Toriyama's head until about 12 or 13 volumes into the series' manga run. Towards the end of Dragon Ball, and before we went into Z, we started to get inklings about Goku's origins, and that he may not be from this world, but we can't be quite sure, because we have a dog as a king in the Dragon Ball world. Not the king of everything, but the king of Earth. So anything can happen. But those said illusions were confirmed to us in Volume 17 when Raditz, Goku's long-lost brother, arrives on Earth and tells Goku that he is a Saiyan. Why the change? Well, Toriyama likes to make things up as he goes along. He has a knack for flying by the seat of his pants when it comes to storytelling. He can come up with an idea based off a bit of idle chit-chat or a demand from a pressing editor when it comes to a tight deadline. So, he can adapt. The Super Saiyan legend was created to add some drama and mystery to Goku's character, as well as actually add some gravitas to Vegeta's character, give him something to fear. Up until then, Vegeta had mocked Goku for his low-class status and the fact that he could never be stronger than the Prince of all Saiyans. But on the inside, Vegeta was shocked at the prospect of a mere subject being stronger than him. How? No, the legend that we all feared and thought was impossible? No. Well, that made some logical sense to Vegeta, and that was part of the justification, as in like, oh, if he's part of a legend, then it doesn't really matter. I mean, I'm still strong anyway. Yes. Oh, wait, 1,000 years. The last one appeared 1,000 years ago, and yes, I could be the Legendary Super Saiyan. You see, at that time, Vegeta was very conflicted, so he liked to flip-flop, and eventually he thought he was the Legendary Super Saiyan. And we all know how well that turned out. But the real reason why the Super Saiyan that we all know and love was born was because it was a method of time saving. Toriyama has admitted that creating the form cut hours of editing and inking time for him and his assistants. It basically saved his bacon when it came to deadlines. In an old interview sourced by Kanzenshu, Toriyama explains that, to be honest, the way I decided upon the Super Saiyan design was for such a simple reason that it make you go, eh? I only use one assistant, who has always helped me. My assistant always had to spend a lot of time blacking in Goku's hair, so the biggest reason was to save time. Since if Goku became a Super Saiyan, his hair wouldn't have to be blacked in. What's more, this also had the effect that one could tell with a glance that Goku had gotten stronger. So, it was killing 2 birds with 1 stone. So, the most iconic transformation in animated history was created to cut corners. Man, Toriyama, you're good. Right, let's get into the meat of this topic, the Legendary Super Saiyan, and who is it? Right now, we have 4 candidates. We have Goku, Broly, Bardock, and the original Super Saiyan that Vegeta talked about. First off, we have Goku. That's pretty open and shut, to be honest. He may have been the first Super Saiyan in over 1,000 years, according to Vegeta, but that doesn't earn him the moniker outright. Goku is certainly one of the strongest Saiyans of all Saiyan kind, and he kind of deserves the title, but it doesn't really connect with the original legend. It's not in keeping with the myth that all Saiyans revered. Goku is a legendary Saiyan, sure, but not the legendary Saiyan, if you catch my drift. Next we have Broly, the potentially strongest candidate for this title. His power is maximum, his appearance looks the part, and his behavior is akin to the myths. The universe was torn asunder at the original Super Saiyan's might, and that's what happened to South Galaxy under Broly. Imagine what kind of destruction Broly could have done had the Z-Warriors not stepped in. According to Daizenshu 6, a legendary Super Saiyan, or at least a Saiyan that could become a legendary Super Saiyan, appears once every 1,000 years, and it's been roughly 1,000 years since the original Super Saiyan turned out, so what better time for Broly to show up? Pretty cut and dry, huh? Not quite. It all goes back to the original argument. Broly was not mentioned in the manga. He is a movie villain, just strong enough to be a challenge for our heroes, but he could easily be defeated in the space of 45 minutes to an hour. He may be a prominent villain, but he does not appear in the official story's timeline. According to the original source material, the original Super Saiyan kind of looked like what we got with Goku. The original Super Saiyan was just like a regular Super Saiyan. Broly's place in Dragon Ball's overworld is significant, but his lack of appearance in the manga and TV anime casts some doubt on his candidacy. Now we have Bardock. Man, this is confusing. At first, Bardock was just the tragic father of Goku, who succumbed like all the other Saiyans on planet Vegeta at the hand of Frieza, and personally I think he brought about their destruction a bit too sooner than planned. That idea stayed the same until 2011, when we got a 3-chapter story about Bardock called Episode of Bardock. It first appeared in V-Jump as a 3-chapter story, but then it was adapted into an anime special later that year. The story has been received somewhat poorly, at least in the West. In it, Bardock was sent back in time just before he was destroyed by Frieza's death ball. Where did he go? Old planet Vegeta, before it was called Planet Vegeta, when it was Planet Plant. No Saiyans or Tuffles to be seen, only the Plantians or Plantains or whatever you like to call them. Okay, how did he get back there? Well, at the time, we didn't know. After befriending the local species, Frieza's ancestor Lord Chilled shows up for a quick beating, a little bit of destruction here or there. And in the midst of all that, Bardock lets loose his Saiyan rage and becomes Super Saiyan for the first time for some reason. Now, given his place in current history, you could say that he is the first ever Super Saiyan, and therefore deserves to be the legendary Super Saiyan. I get you thinking, but there's a problem. Which timeline is he in? As we all know too well, Dragon Ball is susceptible to weird timey-wimey rules. We don't know how time works in Dragon Ball. It changes with every series. So as far as we're concerned, Bardock may be the legendary Super Saiyan, but in one specific timeline, not in the timeline that we're most familiar with. So to pinpoint one specific series of events to make Bardock the legendary Super Saiyan is a tough one, so I really wouldn't feel comfortable making him the legendary Super Saiyan outright. Also, do you remember all the furore there was when we found out Bardock was sent back in time and not destroyed? Everyone was going, how the hell did that happen? That makes no sense. What? Xenoverse 2 showed that Toa and Mira were the reasons that Bardock escaped Frieza's destruction. They took him back in time, but just before they could have their wicked ways with him, he escaped into a different timeline, and that's what the episode of Bardock was. But later on, they did capture him and made him the Masked Saiyan. Ooh, who could that possibly be? That kind of makes more sense, but we have to remember that this is a game story spin-off, so it doesn't really attach to the main story's timeline. You can't put those two together cleanly without there being some debate there. But I like the idea that they went back to that story and cleared it up for us, so if you just do a little bit of research, everything will be cleared up for you. Lastly, we have the original Super Saiyan that Vegeta talked about in the Namek saga. You know, the one that looks like Golden Ozaru, the precursor to Super Saiyan 4? Or does the Golden Ozaru look like that? This Saiyan attained the form of Super Saiyan, but he could not control it. He was weak of mind. Now, we all like to make fun of Goku for being weak of mind, but he really isn't. He was able to hold his mind steady when he became Super Saiyan. Just barely. I personally like the idea of the legendary Super Saiyan not having a name, not having any kind of identity known to us, having some mystery and intrigue, that's part of what makes a legend a legend. It's a title that's earned over centuries, not just after one good deed. The original Super Saiyan was responsible for all the terror that was caused in Universe 7 in the year 238 before age, almost 1,000 years before Goku and Broly were born. There's not much else to go on with that, other than that the power of the Super Saiyan was what brought that Super Saiyan to its knees, and ultimately to its death. You know, with great power and all that. Okay, Masako, who do you think is the legendary Super Saiyan after you've prattled on about that? Well, I'll give you an answer. I would say that all four of them have a compelling argument in some shape or form. Goku for his immense strength currently, Broly for his impact and appearance, Bardock for his place in the timeline, and how the original Super Saiyan is talked about by Vegeta of all people. He don't respect anybody, but he respects the original Super Saiyan. So my vote would actually go to the original Super Saiyan. Of course, this is just my opinion, but this is where you come in. What do you guys think? Who is the legendary Super Saiyan? Goku, Broly, Bardock, or the original Super Saiyan? Leave a comment below, check out the poll on the top right, and let's get this discussion going. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. Until the next one, be sure to like and subscribe. And until then, catch you later.